Hello and welcome to the Fin to the Woods podcast with me, Finian Hackett. I hope you're all doing very well. Another week, another podcast episode. I want to start off by saying a big thank you to everybody who has listened to my interview with Laura Benanti, the Tony Award winning actress, last week. She was a blast. We had such a good time. She was so lovely. I couldn't have wished for a better guest. We had a lovely chat. So yes, thank you for all your very kind messages and comments about that interview. If you have yet to listen to it, you know where to go. You go and listen to it right now. Pause this episode and go and have a listen, because yeah, it was a really lovely chat. And I've also posted a few clips of the interview on my TikTok and also my Instagram too. So if you want to find some videos of the two of us chatting, you can go and find them there. And yeah, I'm in the process of trying to get some more guests on the podcast, but for now it's back to business as usual, recapping all the latest theatre news and reviews and gossip and casting news and all of that. Right, what have I been up to in the past week and a bit, nearly 2 weeks basically, because I obviously didn't do an episode like this last week. However, I went to the Noughts and Crosses press night at Regent's Park. Now, if you listened to the episode a couple of weeks back, you'll know that I am currently doing kind of a shadowing thing at Regent's Park, and Noughts and Crosses was one of the productions I have shadowed, and we got invited to press night, which was very lovely. There was lots of lovely food, lots of fun canapes, I can't speak. Strawberries covered in chocolate. They were random, slightly messy, an odd thing to have at a press night, but there you go. And also lots of free alcohol. That seems like that's the only reason I went. It wasn't, but it was very much a deciding factor because I'd already seen the show twice. So, you know. But yeah, there were lots of random celebrities there. It was like ITV had gone through their kind of catalogue of morning TV presenters and just invited them all. Brenda Edwards, Ranveer, she was there. Vanessa Feltz, she's not ITV, but she was there. Gabby Roslin was there. A few actor people as well, but there was lots of ITV presenters and TV people. But yes, it was really good, and it was a really fun, nice evening, and I got to chat to lots of people too, and do some networking, if you will. But yeah, it was very lovely. The reviews were not as kind as I thought they were going to be, if I'm honest. They were quite mixed. Some of them were not great. I think they praised the right places of the production, like the set and the lighting, and the overall direction in total was kind of praised quite a lot by most of the reviews, even if they weren't more positive about other areas of the production. So yeah, quite mixed. But yeah, I think they praised the correct areas on the show. But it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I'm also shadowing on Brigadoon, which opens in a few weeks' time. It'll be interesting to see how that is reviewed in comparison. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of do a few more rehearsals on that and get into that a little bit more too. I also popped into the West End while I was up in London at Regent's Park to go and see a play, and this play was Till the Stars Come Down, which was at the National a couple of years ago, was nominated for Best New Play at the Olivier's and Best Supporting Actress for Lorraine Ashbourne, and this play has now transferred to the Theatre Royal Haymarket in the West End, and I really wanted to see it when it was at the National. It had very good reviews. I didn't get round to it, so I'm really happy I got the chance to see it now. I loved it. It's about this family on a wedding day. Basically, the whole play takes place on that one day, and it's about all the family dynamics, the relationships, the secrets, and how it all kind of unfolds, all erupts at this wedding. It is so funny, but also really touching and really sad at points as well. And there's lots of big argument scenes, and the acting is just phenomenal. And it's in the round, which is quite peculiar for a West End show, especially in a theatre which is older and not built that way. So they've got seating on stage to make it in the round, but also obviously the whole auditorium too. Helen Mirren was there when I went. She had a lovely time. She stood up at the end, and she had a pair of Spanx thrown in her face. Not by a random member of the public, by someone in the play, because it's part of the opening of Act 2. I would recommend it to everybody. I thought it was a fantastic play. I can see why it's had such good reviews. The people who have come into the play, now it's in the West End, replacing people from the national production. For example, Dorothy Atkinson has replaced Lorraine Ashbourne. I like both of them as actresses, so it was lovely to see Dorothy Atkinson, even though I would have also loved to have seen Lorraine Ashbourne back at the National too, but she was fantastic. She, for me, I think was the standout performance, but oh my god, the level of performance in that production was second to none. I was so impressed, and yeah, I would recommend it to everybody. I've also booked my first theatre tickets for 2026, which seems quite far away, but this was for the upcoming Donmar Warehouse season. They are doing a revival of the play When We Are Married by J.B. Priestley, and the cast is, I can't believe all these people are going to be in the show together. Siobhan Finneran, Samantha Spiro, Sophie Thompson and Mark Wootton. What a cast. So I had to get tickets. I think it's under 35, under 25, £20 tickets, and I'm in the fourth row of the stalls. I did the same when I went last year, and yeah, really good seats for the amount that you're paying for. Can't complain really, but that's in January I'm going to see that. But it's a bit weird to say I've already booked something for 2026. Seems very far away, but it'll be here before we know it. Right then, let's get cracking talking about the latest theatre news, and we're going to start off with news about productions coming to places all over the country and elsewhere. So, Elf is going to be returning to the West End, replacing Tina, where Tina is closing this summer. Elf is going into that theatre from the 28th of October to the 3rd of January. Now, I like Christmas just as much as the next person. I do like it. But the 28th of October, that is too early for Elf. Surely you just do from the 28th of November, or like mid-November, not the end of October. I feel like I can't get behind that. And to close on the 3rd of January, you'd maybe go a bit longer. I don't know, but what's going to go into that theatre after Elf? I would like to see something like Death Becomes Her. I don't think it would fit in that theatre. I think that's got to go to somewhere bigger. However, it'll be interesting to see what replaces that, because it's a lovely theatre, great auditorium. But yeah, Elf is back. It's been in the West End many, many times. At the Dominion a few times. They love it. I've never seen it. I should do, really. But not in October, I won't be going. Cirque du Soleil are returning to the Albert Hall in January for 4 weeks until the 1st of February. Now, I went in 2020 to see Cirque du Soleil, and it was quite intense. It's quite a lot. I did enjoy it. I really did enjoy it. I haven't necessarily wanted to go back, but not because it's not good. It's just not necessarily my cup of tea, if you know what I mean. But it's such a spectacle, and the talent that they have to be able to do the weird tricks and flips and everything they do just hurts my brain a little bit, because I can't even touch my toes. I genuinely can't. That's not even a lie. Yeah, I could not do what they do on the motorbikes and everything. I can't even drive a car. I don't know why I'd be driving a motorbike. The tour of Kinky Boots is going to be making its way to the West End. This is starring Johannes from Strictly, and it's going to run at the London Coliseum from the 17th of March to the 11th of July, following a week of previews at the Leicester Curve. So this tour opened at the Leicester Curve this year, and it's touring at the moment as we speak. I saw it in Brighton. I really enjoyed it. I'll be intrigued to see how this production upscales to the Coliseum, because it felt on the stage at the Theatre Royal in Brighton that it kind of filled it nicely, and that's not the biggest stage. That to the Coliseum is quite a big upgrade, so I'd be intrigued to see how they possibly change bits and bobs. But I liked the production as a whole. I had a really good time. I think it's a really good musical. I've always enjoyed it. Obviously, this means that Great Gatsby is closing. We knew that anyway. I saw a few TikToks and comments saying, oh no, Gatsby must be closing then. It was always closing. It was always a limited run, because it's the home of the English National Opera. They have other productions on during the kind of autumn and winter period, hence why there's never any musicals on at that time. So it was always going to close. It was always a limited run. Kinky Boots coming in isn't a big surprise. But yes, it'll be interesting to see also, after Kinky Boots closes in the July, whether there is another musical that goes in for kind of the latter part of the summer. Quite possibly, we'll have to wait and see. Hope Mill Theatre and the Lowry are staging the first ever non-replica production of High School Musical in the UK. Now, this hasn't seen a professional production in the UK for quite a while, and it played, I think, at the Hammersmith Apollo back in about 2008, 2009, and Letitia Dean from EastEnders, who plays Sharon, played Ms. Darbus. What iconic casting is that? I'm so sad there's no video footage of her in the show. I would love to see that. But it's going to run at the Lowry from the 21st of August to the 13th of September 2026. So a whole year away. We've got a while to wait until we see High School Musical come back. But it wouldn't surprise me if that production ends up touring, because High School Musical is still so popular, and it's, I think, 20 years old next year, and I think it will do very well. I think there's some nostalgia for people of my age, probably a little bit older, but I grew up watching the High School Musical films. I went to see, I think, the third one in the cinema. Or, no, I went to see Mamma Mia, I cried, and then I had to go in and see High School Musical Senior Year, whatever it's called. But yeah, it's a great show, and great music, and I think it will do really well. Hot Mess, a new rom-com musical, is going to transfer to the Southwark Playhouse Elephant after its run at the Edinburgh Fringe this year. So it's running in Edinburgh from the 30th of July to the 25th of August, and then it's going to run in London with Danielle Steers and Tobias Turley from the 16th of October to the 8th of November. Paranormal Activity is going to open at the Ambassadors Theatre in London from the 5th of December for a 12-week run this year. No, not this year, but going into 2026. I won't be going, and not because I don't support people in shows, because I couldn't think of anything worse than seeing something that's going to make me scared in the theatre. That's why I've never seen 222. I've never seen it, because I don't like things that make me jump. I don't like horror movies. I don't like ghosts. I'm a bit of a wuss. I'm not a wuss, actually. I just don't like them. And that's the honest truth. It's not for me. So I wish them well. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be an usher either, especially going from Benjamin Button at that theatre to Paranormal Activity. Quite different. The UK premiere of the play Clarkston is going to run later this year in the West End at a theatre yet to be announced. I don't know why they do this sometimes. They announce a show before they've got the theatre. I think it's often because the theatre that they might be going into might not have announced that show is closing yet, so I kind of get that, but I wish they'd just wait and do it all at once. And it's going to star Joe Locke from Heartstopper. He's going to feature in the cast of this UK premiere. The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, which made its world premiere at Chichester this year, is going to open in the West End next year, again at a venue yet to be announced. I adored this show. I adored the cast. I adored the music. I just thought it was so lovely. And I am so thrilled that it's going to the West End and more people are going to get to see it. I was hoping this was going to happen. I predicted it would, because you don't get shows that good that don't go further. I just loved it, and I can't wait to be able to go and see that again. Alongside this, Passenger, who wrote the music and the lyrics for the show, is releasing a concept album of it called The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, and the first single from the show, Song for the Countryside, with Jack Wolf, who starred in the production at Chichester, is out now. You can go and listen to it right now. Glorious, the play about Florence Foster Jenkins, which is starring Wendy Peters, is going to tour the UK from February next year. If you don't know the story of Florence Foster Jenkins, she was basically known as the world's worst singer. She was basically gaslit into becoming a singer, and she was absolutely dreadful, but she thought she was really good. It's quite sad, really. And there's a film starring Meryl Streep, which is quite entertaining if you want the kind of story about her life. And The Code is going to play Southwark Playhouse Elephant this autumn from the 12th of September to the 12th of October, and it's going to star Tracy Bennett, John Partridge, Solomon Davey and Nick Blakely. A little bit of extension news. Stereophonic is doing very well in the West End and has extended until the 22nd of November, but also we have a few closing notices too. Gypsy with Audra McDonald is going to close earlier than expected. It's going to close on the 17th of August on Broadway after 269 official performances. It had previously extended to October the 5th. But there are many reasons why this production has closed, not any that I really know, but there obviously will be reasoning behind this early closure. Very sad to see. Gypsy never runs particularly long on Broadway. I think this is the second shortest run of the show. The shortest was the Angela Lansbury production. That only did about 120 performances. So still, a very good run, bearing in mind it opened back in, November time. It's done very well. It's had really good reception. But yeah, bye-bye to Gypsy. But also Clueless in the West End is also closing earlier than expected. It was booking into 2026, but it's now going to shut on the 23rd of August this year. Quite a big jump for them. maybe I think there are too many movie musicals opening in the West End. I think it's an oversaturated market, and I think there's only a certain target audience for those kind of shows. Are your grandparents going to want to go and see Clueless? Probably not. Are they more willing to go and see something like Mrs. Doubtfire when that was on? Most probably. I think there are certain films and certain film musicals that adapt well to the stage and appeal to a broad audience. Something like Clueless only appeals, I think, to a very kind of set area of musical theatre fans, and I think that's probably why it's not sold as well as it might have done. The show, however, is going to be touring next year, which is always a good thing because more people will see it up and down the country. Now, let's talk about Burlesque, because this has been making headlines this week for all the wrong reasons. So the show has started previews at the Savoy Theatre in London, and it's set to open, I think, this coming week for its press night. And it's been plagued with a lot of bad press from the outset. So it had its world premiere runs in Manchester and I think in Glasgow last year, and it reviewed quite well. Since then, the production team has changed quite significantly, and Todrick Hall is now director and choreographer. So this musical, on its first preview a couple of weeks back, went up late. It went up at 8 o'clock, and the show didn't end until 11:20. Because of show stops and too much content in the show. Apparently costumes were not ready for the first preview. I've heard that some of the cast had to buy their own costumes, but don't take that as gospel, because I don't necessarily know if that is true. But I do know that the costumes were not ready for first previews, because that was in a recent report done by The Stage. So this is quite interesting, because it's meant that Equity have had to get involved. So they released a statement saying Equity is engaging with both members and the producers over a number of issues that have been raised with us. Our West End official is in close contact with members, and members can seek further support by contacting Equity direct if needed. I mean, it's never a good thing if Equity are having to get involved in your production because of multiple issues backstage. That's what the reports have said. And Todrick Hall has said in a recent interview that at the last minute they were moved from one theatre to another because a date opened up basically earlier than expected for them to do the show. This move also, according to him, scuppered plans to invite director and choreographer Christopher Galletti to join the project in some capacity. But he then states that Todrick Hall, became the director and choreographer accidentally. This all seems a bit bizarre. Surely you'd just wait it out for the other theatre so you could just open with Christopher Galletti involved. Why would you move to one theatre because a date came up earlier? Seems a bit bizarre to me. But yeah, we'll see how that kind of rolls out in the next week or so, especially after press night and what the reviews say. It's been running really long ever since that first preview. Everyone I've seen who's been online has had a show stop in some sense. It's run really long. Some people have really loved it. Some people have not enjoyed it at all. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what happens with Burlesque. A very interesting turn of events there. The chief critic of the New York Times, Jesse Green, is going to be reassigned, with the paper now searching for a new critic. Now, you may be thinking, why is this important? But the New York Times and the chief critic, the theatre critic of the New York Times, has always been a very prestigious role in the world of reviews. And when the news came that he was being reassigned, there was, I think, a slight worry about what this means for the future of the theatre criticism in the New York Times and in general in kind of the media. And it'll be intriguing to see what route they go down with who they now pick to replace Jesse Green, and how their kind of restructuring program is going to mean that he is obviously being reassigned. He's not been fired, he's been reassigned. To what position we don't know yet, so it'll be just intriguing to see how that all pans out too. And also, in a little bit of positive news, Kenny Leon, Paul Taswell, Kathleen Marshall and the late Rebecca Luker are all going to be inducted this year into the Theatre Hall of Fame. Some TV, film and recording news for you. So, the comedy about spies is going to be recorded for broadcast at a later date on the 20th and 21st of August this year. This is the new Mischief Theatre Company production, and it's closing in September. It was only ever a limited run. So yeah, they're going to capture that, and that will be released at a future date Also, 40 Towers, the play, is also getting a recording. It's going to be recorded and aired on You and Gold in the UK this September to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the sitcom. The play John Proctor is the Villain is getting a film adaptation with Sadie Sink, who starred in the production and received a Tony nomination, executive producer on the film. This has been a very successful play from this past Broadway season, and I believe it closes at the end of August, but exciting that it's getting a full film adaptation. And also a production from a couple of seasons ago, Merrily We Roll Along, the filmed version of that with Jonathan Groff and Lindsay Mendez and Daniel Radcliffe is going to be released worldwide in cinemas on the 5th of December. Now this is intriguing because you may or may not know that they are doing a full film of Merrily We Roll Along, filmed over the course of 20 years because the show goes backwards and they're filming it in the opposite order of that, so the actors age up while they're filming. So they're kind of filming it every couple of months across the next 20 years. A crazy concept, but it's interesting that this production of Merrily was filmed and is getting a cinema release. Also, this kind of version of the show, this Maria Friedman production, was already filmed when it was in London over a decade ago. Again, intriguing that they filmed it again. There's going to be a lot of Merrily over the next kind of 20 years or so, but who's one to complain about more Sondheim? And talking of Jonathan Groff, the Bobby Darin musical Just in Time, which is what he's starring in at the moment on Broadway, he received a Tony nomination for it, is going to release a cast recording on the 15th of August with the songs Splish Splash and This Could Be the Start of Something Big / Just in Time available now to stream. And this comes soon after the death of the singer Connie Francis, who is portrayed in the musical by Tony nominee Gracie Lawrence. And another death in this past week was Alan Bergman, the songwriter who has died at the age of 99. He and his wife Marilyn worked closely with Barbra Streisand over her career. She spoke about them a lot in her very long audiobook, but they were lyricists for the shows Something More and Ballroom on Broadway and elsewhere, but they also wrote some very famous songs, including You Don't Bring Me Flowers, which Streisand did go on to record, and probably the most famous song of theirs was The Way We Were, which also was sung by Barbra Streisand. Now, let's talk about some casting news. There's been quite a lot of it, so we're going to try and get through as much as we can. Ed McVeigh and Maisie Smith are going to lead the UK tour of The Talented Mr. Ripley from the 4th of September in Cheltenham. Joanna Riding, Aviva Tully and Faye Brooks have joined the cast of the Leicester Curve production of The Sound of Music this Christmas. Joanna Riding is playing Mother Abbess. What dream casting is that? Ariana DeBose, Bebe Neuwirth, Brad Oscar, Jennifer Simard and many others have joined the lineup for the upcoming Chorus Line 50th anniversary concert at the Schubert Theatre on Broadway on the 27th of July. I think this is going to be absolutely spectacular. It is such a big anniversary for a show that is so iconic and kind of life-changing for the world of musical theatre. It was so integral at that point in time and still is a favourite of many, many, many people. And the people that they have at this concert, I just think I'm jealous of anybody who gets to go and who has managed to get a ticket. I think it will be marvellous. Morgan Dudley, Kurt Elling, Rebecca Naomi Jones, Paolo Schott and Jack Wolfe are going to be leading Hadestown on Broadway from the 2nd of September. I still haven't seen the show. I've still not seen Hadestown. I know. It's bad. It's on the list. I will go eventually. But yeah, great to see some British talent going over to Broadway as well. How fantastic. Carmen Cusack and Nick Walker are going to lead the Bull Durham musical at the Paper Mill Playhouse this October. Kumail Nanjiani, Michael Urie and Jen Harris are going to join Jinx Monsoon in Oh Mary on Broadway. The show is rumoured to be coming to the UK. I've heard rumblings, which is very exciting because this play has been a bit of a hit from this past Broadway season, with Cola Scola winning the Tony Award for Best Lead Actor in a Play. Yeah, I cannot wait to hopefully see that, but what a cast that is replacing on Broadway. Mark Hadfield will be leading the UK tour of Death on the Nile as Hercule Poirot later this year. Vinette Robinson and Luke Treadaway have joined the cast of the upcoming West End production of Othello. John Robbins is taking over as Miss Trunchbull from the 9th of September in Matilda in the West End, and I'm very excited by this. Jamie Moscato and Sharon Rose are going to lead the world premiere of One Day, the musical based on the book of the same name and the TV series and the film in Edinburgh next year. I've just finished reading the book, literally this week. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, maybe I'll see it in Edinburgh, maybe I'll see it when it eventually comes somewhere a little bit closer. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Short and sweet, I'd say, short and sweet. Yes, I am going to Chichester Festival Theatre for my 2-show day there next week. So, in the next episode, I'll be filling you in all about that, about Top Hat, about Marie and Rosetta. Very excited to see those shows. I'm back at Regent's Park this week as well. Hopefully the weather isn't too crappy. It's been a bit naff this week. However, it's much cooler than it has been, which I don't like hot weather, so this is an absolute blessing. But yes, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to listen to that Laura Benanti interview if you have not already done so. Remember to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at FinToTheWoods. But yes, thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you once again next week.